Tonight is not just another night. Nothing dramatic may happen. No announcement will be made. No sign will appear to warn you. And that's exactly why this moment matters. Quantum physics tells us that the most powerful changes don't arrive with noise, they arrive quietly, long before the world notices anything has shifted. By the time evidence appears, the outcome is already locked. If you feel unusually alert right now, if something feels heavy, still, or strangely precise, that is not imagination. That is the moment before reality reorganizes. Most people will sleep through this phase. They will wake up unchanged and wonder later how everything moved without them. But you're here, which means this message reached you before the shift completed. These 12 lessons are not predictions. They are instructions for awareness. Because once a quantum shift begins, you don't get a second warning. Be prepared. 1. Reality shifts before you see proof. Most people believe change begins when something happens. Quantum physics tells a far more unsettling truth. Change begins long before evidence appears. At the smallest level of reality, particles do not behave like solid things. They exist as possibilities. They occupy multiple states at once, waiting. Nothing is fixed, nothing is decided. Everything is potential. And then, without warning, collapse occurs. One state becomes real, not because the universe announced it, but because conditions quietly aligned. Your life follows the same law. Before a relationship ends, before an opportunity appears, before your direction changes, there is an invisible phase where reality has already shifted internally. The external world simply hasn't caught up yet. This is why people are blindsided by change. They wait for signs, proof, or permission, while the quantum state has already moved on. If tonight feels different, heavier, quieter, unsettled, or strangely still, that is not coincidence. That is the moment before visible change, the moment where possibilities narrow, the moment where one version of your future becomes more likely than all others. This is the most dangerous moment for the unprepared mind, because the unprepared waits. The prepared senses. Quantum physics shows us that systems don't transform with chaos first, they transform with stillness. Energy withdraws, motion pauses, information reorganizes below the surface. Only after this silent reordering does reality appear to suddenly change. That sudden change? It wasn't sudden at all. It was building quietly while most people were distracted, numbing themselves, chasing noise, or demanding certainty. Tonight represents that silent phase. Nothing dramatic needs to happen for everything to already be different. In fact, the more dramatic the shift, the quieter its beginning. This is why awareness matters more than action right now. Acting too early, forcing clarity, or demanding answers can pull you out of alignment with the shift itself. Prepared minds do something most people can't. They trust the unseen phase. They understand that when the universe goes quiet, it's not empty, it's precise. Every subtle feeling, every pause, every sense of something is off is data, information being transmitted before form appears. And once the collapse happens, once reality locks in, you don't get to go back and observe differently. This is why being prepared tonight isn't about fear, it's about recognition. Because the people who recognize the shift before proof arrives are the ones who step into the new state without resistance, while everyone else wonders how everything changed overnight. Tonight isn't asking you to believe, it's asking you to notice. 2. Awareness is the first activation. In quantum physics, something unsettling is true. Nothing exists as a fixed outcome until it is observed. Before observation, particles remain in a state of uncertainty spread across possibilities, undecided and fluid. The moment observation occurs, the system responds. Reality selects a path. This means awareness is not passive. Awareness is participation. Most people live as if they are outside reality, waiting for life to happen to them. Quantum science quietly proves the opposite. The moment you become aware of a state, you enter the system. You influence probability not through force, but through presence. That's why so many people never feel shifts coming. Their awareness is scattered, divided, constantly pulled outward by noise, routine, and distraction. They are present physically but absent perceptually, and what is not perceived cannot activate. If you are sensing something tonight, subtle tension, heightened alertness, a feeling that something is aligning, that awareness itself is already the first movement of the shift. Nothing else is required yet. No action, no declaration, no understanding, just awareness. This is where people make a mistake. They think awareness means thinking harder, analyzing more, or searching for meaning. But true awareness is quieter than thought. It's the ability to sit with a sensation without labeling it, to feel a moment without demanding explanation. Quantum systems respond most cleanly to clear observation. The more cluttered the observer, the more distorted the outcome. That's why clarity of awareness matters more than intensity of intention. Tonight is not about forcing change. It's about allowing recognition. The moment you clearly notice a shift without trying to control it, you synchronize with it. You stop fighting probabilities and begin moving with them. This is the difference between people who ride transitions smoothly and those who feel shattered by them. Awareness stabilizes uncertainty, and once awareness locks in, reality begins reorganizing around it. Subtly, gradually, inevitably. You may not see immediate results. In fact, you shouldn't expect them. Activation is not fireworks, it's alignment. It's the quiet sense that you are no longer standing where you were before, even if nothing around you has visibly changed. That is how every major transformation begins. Not with action, not with proof, but with the simple, powerful act of being present enough to notice that something has already started. 3. Silence is a sign of reconfiguration. When most people experience silence in their lives, they assume something is wrong. Fewer messages, fewer signs, fewer answers, less movement. The mind interprets this as stagnation or loss. But quantum physics reveals a different truth. Silence often appears when a system is reorganizing at a deeper level. In quantum systems, periods of apparent inactivity are not empty. They are dense with unseen activity. Energy pulls inward, motion slows, information reshuffles below the surface. From the outside, nothing seems to be happening. From the inside, everything is being recalculated. Your life follows the same pattern. Before major transitions, the universe reduces noise. External validation fades. Familiar patterns stop responding the way they used to. Even motivation can feel muted. This isn't punishment, and it isn't failure. It's the system removing interference, so a new configuration can form without distortion. Silence is not absence. Silence is precision. This is why tonight may feel unusually quiet, not just externally, but internally. Thoughts slow down, emotions flatten, the urge to react weakens. That calm can feel unsettling because the mind is addicted to stimulation. It equates noise with progress. But real transformation does not announce itself with chaos. It arrives through stillness. Quantum transitions require stability before collapse. If everything moved at once, nothing would hold. So the system pauses. It waits. It lets outdated signals fade so new ones can register clearly. Many people panic at this stage. They rush to fill the silence with distractions, decisions, or explanations. In doing so, they interrupt the reconfiguration process. They pull themselves back into old states because those states feel familiar, even if they were limiting. Prepared minds do the opposite. They respect the quiet. They don't chase stimulation. They don't demand answers prematurely. They understand that when life goes silent, it is not withdrawing support, it is creating space. Space for a different pattern, a different rhythm, a different version of self. Tonight's silence, if you feel it, is not a void to escape. It is a threshold to stand in. The quieter it feels, the closer the system is to stabilizing its next form. And once the reconfiguration completes, noise will return, motion will resume, clarity will surface. But it will arrive with a different quality, one that no longer fits the old patterns you've outgrown. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means something important is being done where you can't interfere with it. 4. Old patterns cannot enter new states. In quantum physics, a system cannot move into a higher or different state while holding the same configuration. Certain conditions must be released for a transition to occur. Energy levels change only when the system lets go of what no longer fits the new state. This is not optional, it is law. Your life operates by the same principle. Every major shift requires separation from an old pattern. Not because the old pattern was wrong, but because it is no longer compatible with where the system is going. This is why transitions often feel like loss before they feel like progress. Something familiar stops working, a routine breaks, a connection weakens, a version of you becomes uncomfortable to maintain. The mind resists this stage the most. It tries to repair what is already dissolving. It replays old strategies. It clings to identities that once felt safe. But quantum systems don't negotiate with nostalgia. Once conditions change, the old structure cannot survive without distortion. Tonight, if you feel tension around habits, relationships, beliefs, or roles that no longer feel aligned, that is not confusion, that is incompatibility revealing itself. What you are being asked to release may not look harmful, it may even look successful. But quantum shifts are not concerned with appearances, they are concerned with coherence. If something no longer matches the frequency of your next state, it must fall away. This is where people misinterpret the process. They think letting go means failure. They think endings mean they chose wrong. They think discomfort means danger. In reality, discomfort is the signal that the system is refusing to carry excess weight forward. Prepared individuals do not mourn what cannot cross the threshold. They understand that holding on to outdated patterns doesn't preserve stability, it prevents transition. The more tightly you grip the old configuration, the more violently it must be removed. Release does not mean destruction. It means permission. Permission for the system to reassemble without distortion. Permission for new possibilities to stabilize without interference. Permission for you to stop carrying what no longer belongs in your next form. Tonight is not asking you to decide what stays or goes. That process is already underway. What matters is whether you resist it or allow it to complete cleanly. Because once a quantum system enters a new state, it cannot return to the old one intact. And neither can you. 5. Fear is a signal, not a warning. Fear has been misunderstood for most of human history. We are taught that fear means danger, that it signals something bad is about to happen, that it should be avoided or silenced. But quantum physics offers a deeper interpretation. Fear often appears at the edge of transformation, not because something is wrong, but because something familiar is dissolving. In quantum systems, instability increases just before a transition. Fluctuations rise, states become uncertain. The system temporarily loses its sense of equilibrium. This does not mean collapse in the negative sense, it means reorganization is approaching. Fear is the psychological equivalent of that instability. When an old identity begins to loosen its grip, the nervous system reacts. It does not understand growth, it understands survival. It interprets the loss of the familiar as threat, even when the outcome is expansion. This is why fear shows up most strongly right before breakthroughs, not during failure. If fear surfaces tonight, subtle unease, restlessness, a sense of being on edge, it is not telling you to stop. It is telling you that the boundary between who you were and who you are becoming is thinning. Fear is information. It marks the point where certainty ends and possibility begins. The mistake most people make is trying to eliminate fear. They distract themselves, suppress it, or retreat back into old patterns where everything feels predictable again. In doing so, they step away from the very transition they were meant to cross. Prepared minds respond differently. They do not panic when fear arises. They do not obey it blindly. They observe it without judgment. In quantum mechanics, observation stabilizes unstable systems. In the same way, calmly witnessing fear reduces its control. Fear loses power when it is seen clearly rather than fought or followed. This does not mean fear disappears. It means it stops dictating behavior. Tonight, fear is not a warning siren. It is a threshold marker, a sign that you are close enough to change, that your old framework can no longer guarantee safety. And that is not a problem. It is proof of movement. The question is not whether fear will appear. It always does. The question is whether you interpret fear as a reason to retreat or as confirmation that the shift is real and already in motion. 6. Time becomes unstable during a shift. One of the most misunderstood ideas in quantum physics is time. We are taught to see time as a straight line past, behind us, future ahead of us, present slipping through our fingers. But at the quantum level, time behaves differently. It stretches, compresses, overlaps, and sometimes seems to disappear altogether. During a quantum shift, time loses its familiar rhythm. This is why moments before major changes often feel strange. Minutes feel heavy, hours feel unreal. Thoughts jump between past memories and future possibilities without warning. You may feel rushed and frozen at the same time. None of this is accidental. When a system transitions, it stops obeying the old timeline. Your mind may suddenly revisit things you thought were finished. Old emotions resurface, forgotten details return. At the same time, flashes of the future appear, ideas, urges, or visions that don't seem connected to your current situation. This is not confusion, it is synchronization. Quantum physics suggests that during transition, multiple timelines briefly overlap. The system recalibrates coherence between what has been, what is, and what is becoming. That overlap can feel disorienting because the mind is designed to move in one direction only. This is why people misinterpret the sensation. They think they are regressing. They think they are losing focus. They think something is wrong with them. In reality, the system is updating its internal map. Prepared individuals do not rush to fix this feeling. They don't try to force productivity or clarity. They understand that clarity returns only after the system stabilizes. Pushing for linear order too early creates resistance and delays integration. Tonight, if time feels unusual, do not fight it. Let moments pass without measuring them. Let thoughts come without chasing them. You are not falling behind. You are temporarily outside the old clock. Once the shift completes, time will feel normal again. But when it does, you will notice something subtle. Decisions feel easier, movement feels more natural, and certain struggles no longer demand effort. Time doesn't break during a shift. It loosens its grip, and in that loosened space, a new sequence quietly takes shape, one that you step into without needing to understand how it formed. 7. You don't chase the shift, you become compatible with it. One of the biggest misunderstandings about change is the belief that it must be pursued. People are taught to chase breakthroughs, force outcomes, and push reality into submission. But quantum physics reveals a truth that completely reverses this mindset. Systems don't move forward through force, they move forward through compatibility. At the quantum level, outcomes are not achieved by aggression. They emerge when conditions align. Particles do not try to become something else. They shift states when their internal frequency matches a new probability. The transition happens naturally, almost effortlessly, once coherence is reached. Your life operates under the same rule. When a quantum shift approaches, effort becomes the wrong tool. The harder you push, the more friction you create. This is why people often sabotage transformation by trying to control it. They overthink, they overact, they demand results, and in doing so, they pull themselves out of alignment with the very change they want. Prepared individuals understand something most people miss. Alignment beats action during transition. Tonight is not a moment for chasing signs, manifesting aggressively, or forcing clarity. It is a moment for matching the state that the shift requires. And that state is quieter, slower, and more receptive than the mind expects. Compatibility begins with restraint. Restraint from reacting emotionally to uncertainty. Restraint from filling silence with noise. Restraint from proving, explaining, or justifying your experience. In quantum systems, excessive interference distorts outcomes. Observation must be clean, minimal, non-attached. The same applies to consciousness. The less you interfere tonight, the smoother the transition becomes. This is where many people fail. They mistake stillness for stagnation. They mistake patience for weakness. They mistake surrender for loss of control. But surrender, in this context, is not giving up. It is strategic alignment. It is the decision to stop pulling reality toward you and instead let yourself be drawn into the state that is already forming. Becoming compatible with a shift means adjusting your internal environment, slowing your breathing, reducing mental noise, releasing the need to understand everything immediately, letting the moment exist without resistance. This does not make you passive. It makes you precise. The universe does not respond to desperation. It responds to coherence. When your inner state matches the frequency of the next phase, movement becomes inevitable. Doors open without force. Decisions clarify without struggle. Timing aligns without effort. Tonight, compatibility matters more than intention. Intention belongs to the future. Compatibility belongs to the present. And the present moment is where all quantum transitions occur. Those who chase the shift exhaust themselves. They arrive late, confused, and fragmented. Those who become compatible arrive quietly, already adjusted to the new state before others even realize something has changed. The shift does not ask how hard you tried. It asks whether you were ready to meet it without resistance. Tonight is not about doing more. It is about becoming the version of you that the next state can accept. Because once compatibility is achieved, the shift does not hesitate. It happens. 8. Emptiness is not absence. It is readiness. The human mind has been trained to fear emptiness. When there is no clear thought, no immediate goal, no emotional surge, the mind assumes something is missing. But quantum physics exposes a deeper truth that completely reframes this fear. Emptiness is the most active state a system can enter before transformation. At the quantum level, what appears empty is never truly empty. The vacuum itself is alive with fluctuations, probabilities, and latent energy. It is the birthplace of form. Nothing new emerges from congestion. Everything new emerges from space. Your consciousness operates under the same rule. When your mind is crowded with expectations, worries, intentions, regrets, and constant internal commentary, it becomes rigid. There is no room for reconfiguration. The system cannot accept a new state because it is already overdefined. This is why so many people feel stuck even while doing everything right. They are full, but not open. Tonight, preparation does not mean adding another thought. It means subtracting interference. An empty mind is not passive. It is alert without being tense, present without being demanding, available without being needy. This state feels unfamiliar because it removes the ego's favorite tool, control through narrative. The ego wants to explain what is happening. It wants to label the shift. It wants to predict the outcome, but prediction collapses possibility too early. Quantum systems require openness during transition. When the observer tries to define the outcome before the system stabilizes, coherence breaks. The result becomes distorted, delayed, or unstable. The same applies to inner change. If tonight feels mentally quiet or if your usual thoughts feel distant, that is not loss, that is readiness. This is the phase where many people sabotage themselves. They rush to fill the silence with meaning. They scroll, distract, plan, worry, or obsess. They mistake the pause for boredom or emptiness and immediately reintroduce noise. Prepared individuals resist this impulse. They allow the space to remain undefined. They do not rush to use the moment. They understand that space is doing the work for them. An empty mind allows information to integrate beneath conscious awareness. Change imprints itself directly into perception, behavior, and instinct without needing explanation. This is why some transformations feel effortless in hindsight. There was no struggle because there was no resistance. Emptiness also protects the shift. When nothing is named, nothing is prematurely shared. When nothing is declared, nothing is challenged. The system completes its transition without interference from doubt, opinion, or external energy. Tonight is not a moment for affirmations or declarations. It is a moment for permission. Permission for the old noise to fade. Permission for the next state to settle. Permission for clarity to arrive later, when it can be held without distortion. The mind does not need to understand tonight. It needs to stay open. Because what enters an empty system does not bounce off the surface. It embeds, it reorganizes structure, It becomes part of the foundation rather than a temporary experience. Emptiness is not the end of something. It is the exact condition required for something new to take hold. And once that process completes, the mind will fill again, but with a different quality, a quieter confidence, a deeper alignment, a sense of knowing that does not need words. You don't prepare for a quantum shift by filling your mind. You prepare by making room for what cannot arrive any other way. 9. Not everyone will feel this, and that is part of the design. One of the hardest realizations during a quantum shift is understanding that not everyone will sense it, and not everyone is meant to. The mind wants validation. It wants shared experience. It wants confirmation from others that what you feel is real. But quantum physics teaches something far more precise. Observation depends on frequency. At the quantum level, different observers experience different outcomes from the same system. What one observer detects, another completely misses, not because the event didn't occur, but because their instruments were not tuned to that range. Reality does not present itself equally to all participants. Human awareness works the same way. If you are feeling something tonight, subtle pressure, heightened stillness, inner movement, do not expect others to understand it. Some people will feel nothing at all, others will dismiss it. Some may even react negatively. This is not rejection, it is misalignment of perception. During major transitions, the system filters participation. This is why deep shifts often feel lonely. Conversations fall flat. Familiar people seem distant. The urge to explain what you're experiencing rises, but words feel inadequate. When you do speak, it sounds exaggerated or misunderstood. This stage tempts people into a mistake, seeking agreement. They try to convince others. They look for reassurance. They expose the shift before it has stabilized. In quantum systems, premature observation from incompatible instruments introduces noise. It destabilizes outcomes. That is why sensitive processes are isolated until coherence is achieved. The same principle applies here. Prepared individuals learn to protect the transition. They do not announce what is forming. They do not seek validation. They do not argue with those who cannot feel it. Silence becomes a form of intelligence. This does not mean arrogance or separation. It means understanding that perception is not a democracy. Not everyone is meant to witness every phase. Some will only notice the outcome long after the shift has completed. And that is not unfair. It is efficient. Quantum systems evolve by selection, not persuasion. They respond to resonance. Only those tuned to the frequency participate in the experience of transition itself. Others remain observers of the aftermath. Tonight, if you feel alone in your awareness, do not mistake that for isolation. It is containment. The system is narrowing interference so the shift can complete without distortion. There is a reason this message resonates with you and not with everyone. It is not superiority, it is timing. Awareness unfolds in layers, and each layer has its own access point. Trying to pull others into your experience pulls you out of your own alignment. Prepared minds allow others to remain where they are. They do not judge, they do not explain. They simply continue moving with the process unfolding inside them. Later, when the effects are visible, when decisions shift, paths open, and inner resistance dissolves, others may ask what happened. By then, the transition will be stable enough to be spoken about. But tonight is not for sharing. It is for holding. Not everyone will feel this. Not everyone needs to. The system knows exactly who must be aware during the unseen phase and who will only understand once the results arrive. Your role is not to convince. It is to remain aligned. Because the deepest shifts do not require witnesses. They require coherence. And coherence is always quiet. 10. Rest is not withdrawal, it is strategic alignment. Modern thinking equates movement with progress and rest with delay. We are conditioned to believe that if we stop, we fall behind. But quantum physics exposes a truth that directly contradicts this belief. During major transitions, rest is not optional, it is structural. In quantum systems, energy is conserved before transformation. Motion slows, activity reduces. The system enters a state of minimal interference so that reorganization can occur without distortion. This is not weakness, it is intelligence. Your body and mind follow the same law. When a shift is underway, exhaustion often appears not because you are failing, but because the system is reallocating resources. Energy is being pulled away from surface activity and redirected inward. The urge to withdraw, sleep, or disconnect is not laziness, it is synchronization. This is where many people misinterpret the signal. They force productivity. They override fatigue. They push through restlessness. In doing so, they interrupt integration. They scatter energy that is meant to stabilize a new state. Quantum transitions do not reward effort at the wrong time. They require precision. Rest during a shift is not escape. It is alignment with timing. When you rest, you reduce noise. When noise reduces, coherence increases. The system settles faster. The new configuration locks in without resistance. This is why breakthroughs often follow periods of stillness. People describe sleeping on it and waking up changed. Decisions feel obvious. Emotional weight lifts. The struggle disappears without explanation. The mind thinks nothing happened. The system knows everything did. Rest also protects the transition from interference. When you are active, you interact with external systems, opinions, expectations, emotional exchanges. Each interaction introduces variables. During a delicate reconfiguration, too many variables destabilize the process. Prepared individuals respect this phase. They cancel unnecessary plans. They limit exposure. They allow themselves to slow down without guilt. This is not retreating from life. It is preparing for a different way of engaging with it. Rest does not delay momentum. It redirects it. There is also a deeper layer to rest that most people miss. When the body relaxes, the nervous system shifts from survival mode into integration mode. This allows subconscious patterns to update, beliefs realign, habits loosen without effort. Trying to consciously fix these patterns rarely works. Rest lets the system do what thought cannot. Tonight, if you feel the urge to sleep earlier, withdraw socially, or sit quietly without stimulation, honor it. This is not the time to push or prove anything. Pushing now creates drag later. The world rewards those who know when to act. Quantum reality rewards those who know when not to. After the shift completes, energy returns, but it returns differently. Focus sharpens. Movement feels natural. Action carries weight instead of strain. What once required effort now flows. Rest is not stepping away from the path. It is letting the path adjust beneath your feet. Those who ignore rest during transition arrive exhausted in the new state, still carrying fragments of the old one. Those who align with rest arrive integrated, coherent, and ready. Tonight is not asking you to move forward. It is asking you to settle into what is already changing. Because rest is not inactivity. It is the quiet architecture of transformation. 11. The shift does not ask for permission. One of the most unsettling truths revealed by quantum physics is that change does not wait for readiness. Systems do not pause to ensure comfort. They do not seek approval. When conditions align, transition occurs, whether the observer feels prepared or not. This is difficult for the human mind to accept. We want warnings. We want timelines. We want control over when and how things change. But quantum reality operates on coherence, not consent. Once a system reaches a critical threshold, it reorganizes. Resistance does not prevent the shift. It only determines how turbulent the experience feels. The transition itself is inevitable. The only variable is how cleanly it occurs. Your life follows this same rule. If you have felt a sense of inevitability recently, like something is moving regardless of your plans, that is not anxiety, that is recognition. The system has already crossed the point where reversal is possible. This is where fear intensifies for many people. They try to regain control. They bargain internally. They attempt to delay or soften what is unfolding. But quantum systems do not slow down for hesitation. They complete the transition once alignment is achieved. Prepared individuals do not fight inevitability. They adjust to it. This does not mean passive surrender. It means intelligent acceptance. It means understanding that energy spent resisting is energy stolen from integration. The more you argue with what is already in motion, the more fragmented the experience becomes. Think of water reaching its boiling point. It does not ask if the container is ready. It changes state. You can't negotiate with physics. You can only choose whether to work with it or against it. Tonight represents that threshold. Something has already been decided at a deeper level. You may not yet see what it is, but the direction is set. The system is no longer asking if, it is resolving how. This is why clarity feels close, but not yet formed. The structure is rearranging beneath the surface. Once it stabilizes, the outcome will feel obvious, almost inevitable in hindsight. People who resist this stage experience chaos. They feel pushed, overwhelmed, out of control. Not because the shift is hostile, but because resistance amplifies friction. People who align experience the same transition as smooth, even quiet. The difference is not fate, it is posture. Acceptance does not weaken you, it sharpens you. It allows you to move with the direction of change rather than be dragged by it. You stop wasting energy trying to preserve what cannot be preserved. This is also where responsibility enters. Once you recognize inevitability, you are accountable for how you respond. You can no longer pretend nothing is happening. You can no longer wait for perfect certainty. Awareness removes the luxury of denial. Tonight is not asking for your permission. It is offering you a choice of orientation. You can tense against the movement and experience it as loss, or you can relax into it and experience it as alignment. The shift will occur either way. Quantum transitions do not care about preference. They care about coherence. And once coherence is achieved, reality reorganizes without apology. The prepared mind understands this and stops asking, "Am I ready?" It asks, "How do I move with what is already happening?" Because readiness is not a prerequisite for change. Alignment is. 12. Tonight is the beginning, even if nothing seems to happen. Most people believe beginnings are loud. They imagine change announcing itself with obvious signs, dramatic moments, or visible breakthroughs. But quantum physics tells a quieter and far more unsettling truth. The most important beginnings occur when nothing appears to happen at all. In quantum systems, the decisive moment is not the explosion of results, it is the instant when probability collapses into a single direction. That moment is silent, invisible, final. By the time the effects are observable, the outcome has already been locked in. Tonight is that kind of moment. This is difficult for the mind to accept because it craves evidence. It wants to feel different, see confirmation, or experience some immediate shift. When that doesn't happen, the mind assumes nothing changed. But in reality, the absence of drama is the clearest sign that the transition is clean. Messy change is noisy. Precise change is quiet. Tonight is not about results. It is about resolution. A decision has been made at a level deeper than thought. A direction has been set without your conscious involvement. You may wake up tomorrow feeling the same, but subtle differences will already be present. Certain worries will no longer have weight. Certain paths will no longer pull you. Certain reactions will simply fail to arise. These are not coincidences. They are consequences. Quantum shifts do not rewrite your life overnight. They rewrite how you move through it. The world may look unchanged, but your relationship to it will not be, and that is what alters everything. This is why people often say, "I don't know when it changed." Because the change did not announce itself. It integrated. Tonight marks the internal beginning. The external world will respond later, in its own timing. Opportunities, endings, and redirections will appear gradually, as if they were always meant to happen this way. You won't need to force them. They will feel natural, even inevitable. The danger now is doubt. The mind may wake up and say, "Nothing happened." It may try to pull you back into old urgency. It may demand proof before allowing trust. This is where many people undo alignment. Prepared individuals do not rush to invalidate what they cannot yet see. They allow the process to unfold without interference. They understand that integration requires patience, not because progress is slow, but because stability matters. Tonight is not asking you to remember it as a turning point. It is asking you to live differently after it. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to explain anything. You don't even need to fully understand what shifted. You only need to notice that certain things no longer require effort, while others no longer hold power. That is how you know the beginning occurred. The quantum shift does not announce itself with fireworks. It announces itself with ease. And once ease replaces struggle, you are no longer in the same phase of reality, even if the calendar says nothing changed. Tonight is the beginning, not because something dramatic happened, but because something irreversible did. And the moment you stop waiting for proof is the moment the new state fully takes hold. Be prepared not for what you will see, but for who you will quietly become next. If nothing obvious happened tonight, don't be confused. The deepest shifts never announce themselves. They don't shake the world. They change how you stand inside it. From this moment forward, pay attention to what no longer pulls at you. Notice what feels lighter. Notice what no longer needs effort. That's how you know the shift completed. You don't need to explain what changed. You don't need to convince anyone. And you don't need to rush. Reality will reveal the outcome in its own time. All that matters is this: you were aware when it began. And once awareness meets a quantum shift, there is no returning to who you were before. Be prepared not for what's coming, but for the version of you that quietly arrives next.